Well, we have a session now on leveraging technology and securing cities in the smart city in the era of digital India. I would like to invite Mr. Arun Dev Gautam, Secretary, Department of Home, Government of Chhattisgarh, on the dais, please. Let's give a big hand. Mr. Arun Dev Gautam. I would like to invite the Chairman and Managing Director of Broadcast Engineering Consultant India Limited, Shri George Kurewala, on the stage, please. Let's give a big hand to Mr. George Kurewala. Also, I would like to invite Mr. Ranveer Prasad, Commissioner, Handloom and Textiles from Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Ranveer Prasad, let's give him a big hand. He's just coming, I'm told. All right, so, yeah, Mr. Ranveer Prasad, Commissioner, Handloom and Textiles, UP. Let's give a big hand to him. I would now invite Mr. Arun Dev Gautam, Secretary, Department of Home, Government of Chhattisgarh, to kindly come here and give his views on the smart cities.
Good evening, friends. I think it is already over, but suddenly there is again 2-3 points. I think everybody has discussed something or the other on security. Basically, 2-3 speakers have talked about security. One is Mr. Vipul Kumar, the first Mr. Gautam Kuradia, and then recently Mr. Rajkumar Srivastav. They have raised very important, pertinent questions about how to plan a smart city and particularly the safety and security aspect of it as well. I am basically from police, so basically what Mr. Rajkumar Srivastav has just mentioned, that this India has so many facets. One development stage can be of Delhi, but still you have parts in India where tribals are still living in a primitive era. So when we plan something, smart city or anything smart, maybe things are very organically related to those tribal areas. Like the officer from KESCO, she was mentioning the power generation. If you are planning a smart city, you have to take care of where the power is generated and whether that generation is secure, that power supply is safe or not. I will mention one example. When 5-6 years ago in Bastar, Chhattisgarh, there was a total blackout for 1 month. The power grid tower was sabotaged and it was basically destroyed by Naxals. So the whole Jagdalpur city, the hospitals were not functioning, the generators were not there, enough generators to carry on the hospital or other activities. Such kind of man-made disasters or even natural disasters. Recently I was reading somewhere that because of drought situation and because of lack of water, the whole northern grid was supposed to be breakdown, on the verge of breakdown. So in that kind of cases, all the systems which are placed in a smart city can be of no use. So while planning safety and security of the smart city, such things have to be taken into account. The one thing about the terrorist situations like a bold attack as we saw in Bombay, 26/11, no security, nothing works once they control one particular installation. Suppose any installation which is very vital to a smart city is captured by armed people. And then if they are also expert in electronics and they are also expert in ICTs, then the whole system can be sabotaged in such a way that there is no further need of controlling the town by surrounding the cities or surrounding them. In Naxal ideology also, they have one stage of guerrilla warfare where they say that in time to come we will surround the cities. In that context also, we have to be very careful while planning for smart cities. Very vital installations like drinking water, electricity supply, and all these things should be planned in such a way that not only their cyber system should be safe, but even physical positioning of such things should be safe otherwise also. One particular thing is very much in fashion nowadays is every city is being planned in intelligent traffic management system. Of course, the technology is of a very big help. Planning of a Delhi level where parking spaces and other things are very efficiently managed by use of technology. But road accidents, which is becoming a biggest concern of the road uses of highways, that is again posing a biggest threat. Road accident, I think the industry people are there. They should devise something so that the fatality on road accidents, fatality on roads is reduced a lot. Then last point, these different options which are available in ICTs, it is a very mysterious kind of scenario where we don't know which technology is good for us. So I think organizations like BESIL, my colleague is here, can be of a great help to us in government. The procurement and knowing the right kind of technology is the biggest challenge, particularly in the field of security. As cyber attacks, when Mr. Vipul Kumar was pointing out how vulnerable we are, in such a situation, usage of right kind of technology and right kind of safety, security features in those networks, that is the biggest challenge we have to take care of. And about the technology, whatever we have used so far, the biggest challenges are sharing of the technology, and particularly the technology which assumes that there will be certain databases available with the organizations. That is again a fault. Like about the crime, the basic crime data is not available sometimes, and now the CCTNS project, which is a very ambitious project, is still not functional in most of the parts of the states. So sharing the compatibility of technology, the sustainability of the technology, and if we want any replacement, then training in technology, because you know the technology, but you have to pass that skill to the people on the ground. Interoperability, and last is the migration of that technology and skill. Suppose you are not able to function, then somebody else to take it over. These are the biggest challenges which in government sector we face. So I think you have to come up with those solutions. Last thing about one very symbolic thing I want to mention, that In AK-47, it is a very smart gun. But despite having all kinds of smartness, we always keep a bayonet fitted on the front of it. Bayonet is the most primitive kind of technology for a war. But still, despite having a smarter gun, we keep our bayonet fitted on the front. Similarly, security and safety aspect is such that without compromising the base, you can be smart, but at the same time you should have an alternative parallel system which should be very robust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gautam. Would like to now invite Mr. George Kuruvilla, Chairman, Managing Director of Broadcast Engineering Consultants India Limited, to share his views on the smart cities. Let's give him a big hand, Mr. George Kuruvilla.
Thank you once again, Elets, and the Government of Goa to giving me the opportunity to talk about the subjects that we are very passionately looking after these days. We come from broadcast engineering. So basically I am from the Indian Engineering Services, so served in All India Radio and Doordarshan for nearly 23 years. And thereafter for the last 4 years I am with this government central public sector organization. And our basic, historically we basically make studios and transmitters, the FM radio, the tower, and that is what our core job had been. So we have made Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, that whatever television that you see, including Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Sir's, the small studio for broadcast purposes, and many central universities we have made the studios, and whatever you hear, the FM transmitter, the private FM transmitter, the common infrastructures have been made by us, and so that is the background that we come. But while we were doing these projects, one of the main project was Electronic Media Monitoring Center for our own Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. So we were told to make a 600 TV channel media monitoring center. Now while I was working on this project, I realized that whatever that we are doing today as an electronic media monitoring center, all these components are required in all the projects that we are looking to. So we have a satellite reception system by which we track all the satellites across in the Indian space and receive those signals and then transcode it, and it goes to the server, then it is stored for 90 days. All these channels are put on automation software that is intelligent to look at any channel. Suppose if I put I want to see 1 month back, I just put the date and time, ask the channel what did they talk about, I'll just put in the data and it will just start streaming what 1 month back it said. It's intelligent system. I put a video, then it can scan through all the database and find out this particular video has been shown by how many channel in what all times. So all that intelligence software we have put in there and we made that system. And so we further diversified. When we are dealing with cameras, we are dealing with the radio frequency, the satellite communication, the microwave link, the fiber. We are dealing with the server, the IT, the storage. We are dealing with the automation software. And this is all that what is required in a smart city situation. So whether we are talking of the medical field, we are talking of education, we are talking of the city garbage management, the energy management, we finally have to finally get from the end point converting the situation into a digital data or digital stream or a digital information. And so that sensor has to be placed in whatever format to collect whether it is camera or a microphone or any other transducer that takes in the data from there, and thereafter it is all the IP streaming and the control and command system. So things have to be individually customized, and thereafter all the systems have to come to a central command and control system, where as a city, as a smart city, it is able to look at whether the fire department, it comes in there, the police department, the hospital, an accident happens, then the police is also there, the hospital should also know what has happened. Maybe an app can give in, what exactly, the patient, the trauma that he is going through, and the hospital gets ready. Also, all the related infrastructures, work around it so that a citizen gets his services. So it's an integrated solution. And presently our problem is that we are working in silos, and there is a great need for integration of all these services together, and that is what ultimately is the smart city. But while we were talking about the safety aspect, the safe city is a subset of the smart city, which is the looking at the crime, about the how do we have the safety of the citizen in a particular in a state. Though safety or policing is a state subject, but crime is something that has to be looked at a national perspective. And so there is a great need that even though when we are planning for a particular state, we need to integrate the state information or data on a national platform. And so this is where we are working as a government PSU, how we can make a platform in such a manner that a similar technology or a technology which can communicate or talk with each other is available at every state level, so that whenever there is a need and requirement, the systems are able to talk to each other. Also to have the database of the criminal or those people whose track sheet is being made, that suspect a list is made, that repository has to be at a national level. Even if they start migrating from one place to another, their antecedents are very well known on a central repository, so that the state police can act on that basis. So that is where is the need today when it is the safety and security. And we are looking at what are the softwares. As he already mentioned, our job is basically we try to study the technologies available across the world, which is the best in each of the areas. For example, let's say for the face recognition, NEC is having the best software. And when we talk about the people search and other analytics, NICE and Variant, these are top names that come into picture. We were looking about the firewall or the other, cyber safety. We have another company already which made a presentation here. So we keep looking at which is the best technology available worldwide and try to bring it together so that we create a platform in which all the best technologies are available. And so in our own country, we start using best of the technologies. And so when we look at the government system, the government procurement is a very difficult thing when we look at the best of the things, because L1 doesn't work when we go for the best of the things. So we are looking and we are in talks with all these top companies that if this platform is available to a central public sector unit, and if it's provided on a service mode or on a rental mode, and even outright sale of some part of it, then through a PSU route, if it can be worked out, the rates can be similar to a DGS&D rate contract for some of the commodity-based items, and the other things can be customized. Some customization charges may be there, but this is how the best of the things can come to the country. At the same time, we are looking at if there are Indian-based startup companies who are developing, and there are lots of them these days. They're working on various applications. They're working on various newer things, newer technology things, and we look at them, we see their presentation and see that if we can adopt those technologies and bring it, with a PSU, so that an Indian company, is getting a platform to showcase, and it is very easy for government agencies or department to procure through a PSU those startup technologies for their purposes. So we are looking at that as well, so that we do the Make in India, we promote the Indian entrepreneur, if they are coming to the level which can be utilized by. So both the things we are looking, we are aware of one thing, that the best of the big data technologies, we cannot do it in a day. It will take years together for even our own homegrown countries to stand up or to rise up to those levels. The economies of scale and economies of scope is so much that it will take time to catch up with them, whether it be Google or Microsoft or all these big companies, Oracle. They have made their space with years of data and technology growth. We cannot match up to them. So somewhere we have to use them also. At the same time, we promote wherever that level or lower level requirement is there, and our Indian company can pitch in. We do there, and there are some of the areas where our own companies are standing at par with, or they are done specialized job which no even international companies are not done. So looking at the Indian situation, our own requirement, if our own companies are standing up and coming up to that level, like today we were talking to Mr. Gautam, and I saw the presentation. I was very happy to see it, that we understand in television that each frame is 25, in 1 second there are 25, shots in a frame. So if I just take one of it, that's good enough, for my perception to understand what a CCTV camera is is catching. So I know that, okay, one frame will give me information. So if I'm just storing one frame out of 25 frame, I save 1/25 of, I'm just doing it 1/25 the bandwidth or the storage space. So I was quite happy to see that this can really be helping us, that we not, the storage size can be reduced to that much level. So I told him that, Mr. Gautam, come over, we will sit across, see the technology and see how we can adopt it and put it into the government systems in various places. So that is where we come from, and anybody from government departments, we're always ready. If we can do, you have a problem, a technology problem, we'll be there to look at all the aspects and provide you a detailed project report about what could be possible solutions for it. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Mr. George Kuruvilla, the Chairman Managing Director of BESIL, to give his insight on leveraging technology for various elements of smart cities. I will now invite Mr. Ranveer Prasad, Commissioner Handloom and Textiles, Uttar Pradesh, to give his views on the smart cities. Mr. Ranveer Prasad.
Prasad, I have recently taken over as Commissioner of Handloom and Textiles, Uttar Pradesh. Our department looks after welfare of roughly 2 to 3 lakh weavers spread all across UP. You would have heard of Banarsi sarees. Banaras city and areas around that has roughly 1 lakh weavers who are engaged in saree making. Before I talk about, I would be very brief about what we are going to do using technology for these weavers. I had opportunity to see the presentations on smart city. Particularly, I saw the presentation by Dehradun. Very impressive. And in fact, in the area of transport, in the area of energy, a lot of things are being planned, a lot of things are being done for making a city smart. But I was a little bit worried, in fact concerned to see not that much emphasis on livelihood. Before this, I was also looking after Manrega, and in UP we spend around 4,000 to 5,000 crores every year on wages for unskilled workers. There is so much demand for Manrega. That is a pointer to the fact that still a livelihood is a major concern for everybody. Now the city, if you are trying to make it a smart, we are basically trying to attract a lot more people towards cities. And the people who would come to the city will not be always middle class or rich, from the rich class, but they will be from the low income people also. Are we making provision for them? Are we making provision to guarantee their livelihood? I could see pictures of planning for very beautiful cities, beautiful streets and all. If you want to beautify a street, first thing we do is to chase away the street hawker. To make it beautiful, we remove encroachments. but we seldom spare thought, where shall that street hawker go? What will happen to the livelihood of that person? Similar thing is happening to our traditional livelihood. I had an interaction with the weavers of Varanasi, those who make very beautiful, exquisite saris of silk saris. In fact, we have GI also for Banarsi saris. Most of the weavers who are finest craftsmen, their age group is 50 plus, 45 to 50, and even 60 plus. And all of them were unanimous in saying that our next generation is not learning weaving. Maybe this will end with our generation, because it is not attractive for our youth, our younger generation. And the reason is that people are not patronizing the handloom products. There is you can say, bombardment from the powerloom, and in the name of the handloom, powerloom products are being sold, and handloom craft is, maybe it will die its slow death. Not many of us are aware that there is an act, Central Act, 1985 Act, which reserves certain articles for handloom products, that it is illegal under law to make those products which are reserved for handloom. But like any other act, it is also not enforced. So what is happening is that when we are not patronizing traditional craft like weaving, it becomes a concern of only that department. For example, suppose it's my department which will look after the welfare of these weavers. Everybody else will have nothing to do with that. But I want to make a point that every other department, every other administrator can also include these policy issues which will preserve our traditional livelihoods and can do a lot. For example, Delhi government has an act which says that every building, new building construction, 2.5% of that cost would be spent on artworks. E-commerce platform like Flipkart or Amazon. First of all, it will have authentic handloom products on for sale only. Problem with Flipkart is that, or Amazon, if you buy a handloom sari on that Amazon, you are not sure that it is handloom. And in fact, most of the time, it will not be handloom. It will be sold in the name of the handloom, but it will not be handloom. It might not be handloom. But this platform will ensure that if you buy a Banarsi sari from this platform, it will be authentic silk product Banarsi sari. That is one. Secondly, we are going one step ahead. We are including DBT also. That suppose you pay 20,000 for a sari, you will know that out of that 20,000, how much has gone to the weaver and to whom. So you will know who has woven your sari, who had spent, say, 1 month in making your sari, and whether he has, how much percentage of that which you have paid, that person has got. So that will give a satisfaction to the customer also, that his money has gone in protecting a livelihood of somebody. What is happening today is that the traders are making more money than the actual weaver, because there is a lot of lopsidedness. So including DBT, that the money will directly go to the certain percentage as soon as the customer pays, a certain percentage which will be fixed on the portal itself will go to the weaver itself. This is I'm not saying that this initiative will actually bring a lot of market to the weaver. I want to emphasize here that since this is a platform for smart cities, a lot of big things have been talked about, and since we have to walk the talk, as Mr. Rajkumar Srivastava, the earlier speaker, was saying, city should be about the people. So when we plan something, it should not be only a real estate project, it should not be only about infrastructure. The center of any planning should be the people. And when we talk about people, we should think about everybody. A city has different categories of people. And as my colleague from KESCO was saying, that suppose we have to give power, people should be able to afford it. And people can only afford the infrastructure, be it the power or the street, or for that matter, even gardens. The people should have money to pay for that. And for that, you need to preserve livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranveer Prasad, for giving a very important perspective on creating livelihood for the smart cities. Thank you so much. Well, with this, we come to an end for this particular discussion. I would request Mr. Gautam Guardia to come on the stage and give the mementos to the panelists, please. Mr. Arun Dev Gautam, right side. Give a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. George Kuruvele, Chairman Managing Director of Basil. Give a big hand. Mr. Ranveer Prasad, Commissioner Handloom and Textiles. And let's take a group photograph, please, with your mementos up.